Raider Nation, good morning. It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the Raiders Report, with some breaking news. According to Vincent Bonsignore, the Las Vegas Raiders are working on trying to trade cornerback Jack Jones. If they are unable to trade him, they will be releasing him on Monday. Coming up here on today's show, I'm going to tell you what it would cost the Raiders to cut and trade Jack. I'll also tell you, what this kind of means maybe for the NFL draft, certain players on the Raiders that are going to need to be able to step up. I'll be real with you. I don't know what team is going to take on the contract of Jack, and maybe this just ends up being a release. But ultimately, I think if a trade does end up going down, you're just hoping to get a 2026 seventh round pick because of the money that another team is going to have to take on. And again, it's not a lot of money, but at the end of the day, we know what Jack Jones can be. Jack Jones can be a special player. Jack Jones can also be absolute burnt toast. Anytime the breaking news ends up happening, I'm always going to do my best to keep you guys up to date. If the Raiders do end up trading Jones at any point, I will do my best to be able to go live or no doubt get you guys another video. I got some family here today, so we got some plans. Alex, if she ends up, she could win my family March Madness bracket if South Carolina wins today. So I'm just going to be honest. I got some family stuff going on, but I will always do my best to keep you guys up to date. All right, so the news happened about, I would say, like 30, 40 minutes ago from the time that I was recording. Shout out to Chuck. But it's coming in from Bonsignore, and, typically I always say anytime that it's reported by a Raiders beat reporter, take it with a grain of salt. But, this is one of those reports where I don't think Vinny would just throw this out there unless he actually heard something from the Raiders. Maybe he heard something, from Jack Jones. But this is one of those moves that I think that we can all be honest was kind of the writing was on the wall. And I say that because Jones was a Antonio Pierce guy. We say that guy's a McDaniels guy, that guy's a Pete Carroll guy, that guy's a Spy Tech guy. Jack Jones was an Antonio Pierce guy, and, Jones had experience with AP in high school. He had experience with AP in college, went to the New England Patriots, and that ended up being an absolute disaster. Finds his home with the Raiders and did a really solid job in 2023. Did struggle at times last season. Let's just be honest, he did. He was probably the most inconsistent corner that we had on the roster last season. But if I was the Las Vegas Raiders, right, and I was looking at my cornerback room and I'm looking at what exactly I'm looking to build for with Pete, Jack Jones is not the type of cornerback that somebody like Pete Carroll, John Spytek, and I think even, Patrick Graham wants. They want somebody that's going to be physical and all-around corner, and that's just not part of Jack's game. When you're able to get four and Jones kind of gets some of that swagger like you saw in that Kansas City game, he can be a really good corner. But if I'm looking at the Raiders and I'm trying to build this the right way and I'm trying to bring in my guys, I want to have an all-around corner, and I don't really think that that's what Jones does very well, and you saw him struggle a lot last season, especially on a lot of those double looks. But then also, every time Jones has not had Antonio Pierce in his corner, and this is the truth, from all the way back to high school to college, and even in the NFL, he hasn't been a player that you can rely on or off the field. So I'm not going to lie. I did a video a few months ago about some trade candidates that I could see the Raiders moving on from, and I could see the Raiders moving on from it because not only does it make sense, I think, from an overall roster building perspective, because if I was the Raiders, players that I'm going to give an advantage over somebody like Jack Jones, I want to see what Eric Stokes has over Jack Jones. I want to see what somebody like Jakorian Bennett can continue to do and grow. Decamerion Richardson can do and continue to grow. Where no disrespect to Jones, I'm going to invest in those young players. I think it also is a big indication, which doesn't shock me, that the Raiders are going to go out there and they're going to draft a corner. Maybe they end up taking a Jahdae Barron or a Will Johnson at pick number 6. Maybe they try to trade back and still get one of those guys anyway. Maybe you're looking in round 2 where I'm telling you right now there's a guy by the name of Trey Amos. I've been hearing his name a lot around some Raiders circles with some people that I talk to. I know that this team's looking for secondary help with Xavier Watts. Pete Carroll, his entire career, has always done a great job of being able to find talent in the draft and getting the most out of it, especially from the cornerback standpoint. So from a roster building perspective going forward, from a winning perspective right now, and from a dollars and cents standpoint, all of these things make sense for the Raiders, right? If you end up trading Jack Jones, you end up saving $3.4 million and you eat nothing. That sounds pretty good. Here's the reason why, I'm not going to be surprised if he doesn't end up getting traded because, again, now maybe a team's willing to offer you a 7th-round pick. That's probably what I think that ends up happening here. But if a trade for Jones ends up or a cut ends up happening, you also save $3.4 million and you don't eat anything. So if you're the Raiders, no matter what, you're able to move on from a 28-year-old corner that doesn't really fit your regime, that doesn't really fit what you're trying to do on a building construction standpoint, and it hasn't been good without Antonio Pierce, and you're going to save $3.4 million. I just don't think that there's going to be an NFL team out there, honestly, that is willing to offer Jack Jones $3.4 million. I do not think it's going to happen. I hope I'm proven wrong, because I'll take that extra 7th round pick every single day of the week and twice on Tuesday. Now, I do appreciate everyone who's tuning in. We got some more stuff coming up. I'll kind of get into Jack Jones's PFF grades over the past few seasons. I'll also talk about maybe some of the teams that could be looking for him. I know I just said it's probably not going to happen, but I at least want to be able to go through some depth charts here and just kind of see what we could be thinking. And then I'll try to see if I can go back and find some of my notes. But after this Jack Jones news, one of the videos that you can absolutely count on for tomorrow that Chugs and I will make is some of the top cornerbacks that the Raiders could look at, in a sense to not replace Jones, but this tells me that they're going to go out, obviously, and they're going to either draft somebody high. I don't think that they're going to sign anybody. I think that they're going to count, on their dudes. But at the same time, I think this means, again, you're going to go out and you got to find another cornerback, and it's going to happen, I would imagine, early in the NFL draft. So, again, make sure you're subscribed. Make sure those notifications are turned on. Next thing that we're going to get into here is going to be around some of the teams that I would say could potentially pull the trigger and make the trade. It's not going to cost a lot. Again, it's only $3.4 million, but I'm looking at a team. I don't think anybody from the AFC East is going to do it because they've already got to see him, and he got released from New England, and there wasn't any interest in before. Where, that's the other part of this, right? If you remember, the reason why the Raiders were able to get Jack Jones was because he cleared waivers. He ended up getting released by the New England Patriots. He was a 2nd-round pick. He was a high pick, and they said nobody. Nobody ended up wanting him, and then the Raiders were able to claim him. I'm going through and looking at some teams right now. Bengals, no, I don't see why the Browns would. The AFC North, that's a division that probably wants nothing to do with Jack Jones. The Texans are probably good. The Colts are definitely good. No. Broncos, nobody from... the AFC West, you want my honest opinion now that I'm looking at it? I don't think a trade ends up happening, but I could see the freaking Chiefs or a team like that going out and getting Jones because of what he did to them, which would be the ultimate Jack Jones probably troll move if it was probably up to him. Giants are good. I would say the Cowboys are probably good, though. The Cowboys have some weak depth. Could be a player that maybe Jerry's crazy enough to pull the trigger on. I would say the NFC North, I don't really think that there's much to do in there. Atlanta, no. Carolina, no. New Orleans, nah. Tampa Bay, probably not. And then, even in the NFC West, wouldn't it be wild? Because I know there was some rumors around a Tariq Woolen trade. If the Raiders just said, all right, we're going to give you Tariq Woolen, Jack Jones swap, and there's just a few late-round picks, that one would be pretty wild. All right, y'all, so I'm just seeing if there's any other updates here around Jones, and I know that this is going to be one of those players that I think a lot of Raiders fans are going to hold on to because of how good he was in 2023 and the excitement that he brought us on Christmas, but let's look at these PFF grades here real quick. He had a 53.9 overall grade, and that was actually raised due to an 80.2 pass rush grade, coverage grade of 52.9, run defense grade of 58.6. Last season, he allowed 54 catches. He did have 3 total interceptions, which, that's the part of Jack's game where he's going to be aggressive. And if there's going to be a team that wants to invest in Jones, and, if my selling point out there to any NFL team, and if I'm trying to get a draft pick for Jones, it's going to be if you're confident in your front four, if you're confident in your ability to blitz, and me saying that off the top of my head, maybe a team like the Minnesota Vikings and Brian Flores, a team that blitzes more than any team, because when you're willing to take chances and you know that you got a guy that's kind of a ball hawk and he can be a ball hawk, you can make a chance on him and maybe give up a 7th-round pick in order to have it happen. All right, y'all, but I don't see anything else here that's going down. Reminder, according to Vincent Bonsignore, the Las Vegas Raiders are shopping right now Jack Jones. If they are unable to trade him, the plan is to release him on Monday. The amount of money that the Raiders would save is $3.4 million if he's traded or cut. I don't know which team's going to pull the trigger. I don't really think he gets a $3.4 million deal if he was a free agent right now. So because of that reason, You know, if I was a team, I wouldn't give up a 7th-round pick for Jack Jones. So I don't know if I'm going to expect it because he doesn't really have coaching connections around the league. If he does end up getting traded, I will do my best to get you guys a video. Like I said, I got some family in town today and tomorrow, so just please keep that in mind. But I'm always here for the nation. I hope you all know that. Enjoy your Sunday. Who you got in the South Carolina-UConn women's game? And last night was a crazy game here. For those that don't know, Alex has Duke. I got Florida, but though I did pick Houston in the Chat Sports Work one. So if I win that bracket, that's just proof that anything is possible. Enjoy the rest of your day. We'll see if Jack Jones ends up getting traded, and then if he does, reminder, I will be back here making a vid. For more videos around the Las Vegas Raiders, make sure you click on this bad boy right here. I literally just dropped a video like right before I ended up making this one around Jones. It's probably going to be either here or it's going to be here. Also, one of these videos is going to be recommended by YouTube, so please go check it out. If we spend a lot of time and effort into them, so please watch them.